So I have a human rights background, and when I joined
Okay.
Global Action Plan and I heard about the Clean Air Human Rights Bill, I was really excited because for me, clean air and human rights were being placed together. And so, I have this particular interest, but I know that there are lots of people in the UK that may not have heard about the Clean Air Human Rights Bill, also known as Ella's Law. And so, just for them, I'd love for you to tell me about it, and what it is, and really
Yeah.
maybe we
I
can have
think,
a chat
yeah.
about how
Okay.
we make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Okay. So there were certain processes that we went through before we actually got here. I think after the inquest, I have to confess, I spoke to my lawyer, Jocelyn Coburn, who's a human rights lawyer, and we did think about a law, but we weren't really sure exactly what. Jocelyn is, she is a human rights lawyer and she's not environmental. I think what really changed my mind has to be the Environment Act last year. I think my hope was, it was a huge hope and it was a huge disappointment that I wanted PM 2.5 in there, which is the worst pollutant, which is causing so much harm. And the most we got was a consultation. And the consultation I felt was actually botched up. Majority of people around the country, if you say to them there was a consultation on this last year, did you know about it? No, sorry, it was 2021, not 2022.
Yeah.
I think the Environment Act was actually 2021. I think most people will say to you, no, we never heard about it. And I'm not going to say it was on purpose, but for something so important,
Yeah.
about health that everybody should know about, I felt it was kept on a low key. And then the Environment Act went through. Then I got to hear about world beating targets. And I thought the most important pollutant isn't even in there. The thing that ultimately cost my daughter her life isn't in there. PM 2.5 is on every scientific paper, more or less. It's to do with wood burning, emissions. So I thought, how can this be world beating? And that's what, for me, inspired Ella's Law. And I know Jenny Jones very well as part of the Green Party. And I knew she was writing a bill with Simon Becker. And she actually asked me at one stage, obviously they sent it to me bit by bit, when they were doing it. And she sort of said to me, would you mind if we dedicate this to your daughter? And one of the reasons why I was really interested in it as well is it talked about indoor air pollution. And indoor air pollution was something Stephen Holgate and I had spoken about in January 2020. But because of COVID, it suddenly got pushed sideways. So I think the fact that it included mold, so the Clean Air Bill includes mold, and I know that if you have damp and mold, that in itself can exacerbate asthma. So yeah, I think all along when they were drafting it, I read it, I sent it to my lawyer, we were in approval of it, and I thought it was a great way to also remember her, and it also helped with my campaign.
Yeah.
Campaigning. And I met David Boyd, who's a special rapporteur for United Nations. And I think I was so disappointed, I think, at the time of meeting him, because that's when the Environment Act, the PM 2.5, didn't go through. And one of the things that I actually asked David, how vital is this thing which I'm doing, clean air as a human right? And he went to me, it is absolutely vital. He said, look, let me tell you, 10 years ago, this is where water was. And now, since water passed, and he did say the UK doesn't, the UK does sign up to these treaties, but they don't really observe them that much. But he said, don't let that put you off. So he said, the hope is if you can get this through, and I'll do everything I can to support you, even if the UK doesn't, this is a worldwide issue. So hopefully other countries, this will inspire other countries to actually take it on. And that, talking to David really inspired me. And he'd also just got the healthy air, not healthy air, the healthy environment, sorry.
Yeah.
He had also just pushed that through as well. And it had taken him years and years and years. And clean air is part of that.
Yeah.
So let's be very, very clear. But we thought it would be great also if it stood alone. So this is in order for clean air to stand alone. And you and I have communicated over the children's rights because we know it's really, really difficult. And I say to you, I am very happy to even, because the Houses of Laws taught me you need to compromise.
Yeah.
Because in order to get this bill through, we had to compromise. And I said to you, I'm very happy to support the child's rights even, because at least it is a step towards. So, you know, it is a step towards having clean air as a human right. Let's start with the most vulnerable first. And that was my thinking behind that. I do hope one day that clean air will become a human right for everybody. But even the child's right to clean air, that is a start. So whatever movements we can make now, if it's child's rights, if it's clean air as a human right in the UK, anything we can do. I feel this is a race against time when it comes to health. And the reason why I say that is we now know between 7 to 9 million people die every year. And one of my challenges for Dr. Tedros even was, we keep on saying this figure.
Yeah.
What is happening about it?
Yeah.
Because we all know the figure. It's well established. But the figure keeps on repeating year on year. So I hope this, Ella's Law, goes somewhere to changing that. So what I'm actually going to do is actually explain to people what Ella's Law actually is,
that would be,
if that's okay with you.
That would be great, Rosamund. Thanks.
So I am going to read little bits out because I think it's really important that people actually understand. It is that important. I tend not to like read notes, but I think on this one, I am actually going to, and that is the reason why I'm doing. So what Ella's Law will do is it will enshrine the human right to clean air precisely and explicitly in UK law. I did that because there have been matterings in the UK that the government was threatening to take us out of the ECHR. And what I worried about is that I need to get this into UK law. So just in case, I'm not saying we are coming out, yes, but just in case, people's right to clean air will still be enshrined, protected by law. Yeah. And that's why I have said UK law. Okay, it is the quickest, cheapest and best way to improve public health and fight climate change because it will improve the quality of the decision making by the government and public authorities literally overnight. It will tackle air pollution and greenhouse gases altogether to improve public health, the environment and climate. What it will also do, it will match and exceed the EU's latest proposals revisions of ambient air qualities in law. This is due to come in 2030 and it will establish a clear pathway to comply with the WHO new air quality guidelines. These guidelines came into being in 2021. This also will include indoor air in places of work where health and safety provisions apply. For example, residential and new development. Now, most importantly, it places duties on local authority and others to reduce mold. Mm-hmm. It would also give the UK the best air quality in the world. So if Ella's Law passed, we would then have world-beating air quality targets. Yes. But right now, we actually do not have them. And I will end it by saying that it is very important to understand that all the non-communicable diseases, for example, most cardiovascular, most cancers, strokes, obesity, stillbirth, depression, suicide, low sperm count. I could go on, dementia. All of these illnesses, please, are linked to or contributed to by air pollution. And that is why Ella's Law needs to become law. We need to look at prevention rather than people getting ill in the first place.
Exactly.
And it is a race against time. So I am asking everybody, we are going to have on our website, LinkedIn, everywhere, a link to Mr. Sunak himself to write to him. And because the government ultimately can make Ella's Law law. They have that power. They have a majority of 71. And we want to appeal to Mr. Sunak that this is something the British public really, really cares about.